Are you guys tired of losing tournaments or ranked games just because you don't have good consistency? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over how to play like one of the most consistent players in Fortnite tournaments and Fortnite ranked, and yes, it's Seti. So enough talking and let's get right into it. First thing is you want to master the basics like any other pro. If you want to play like Seti, you have to start where he did, with the basics. These are the foundation of your gameplay, and without them, you'll struggle to reach higher levels of consistency. So building, editing, aiming, and rotating are the 4 pillars of Fortnite, and you need to make them second nature. And Seti didn't just wake up one day as a top player, he grinded hard to perfect these fundamentals, and so should you. He's grinded so much just like every other pro, but he is literally one of the most consistent players in Fortnite just based off of how hard he works on just getting the basics mastered. Alright, next is building and editing, and start by hopping into creative mode and dedicating time every day to practice. Spend at least 10 minutes free building, crank 90s to improve your vertical building, practice new movement building, practice tunneling to enhance your ability to move while staying protected, and run through piece control drills until your movement feels fluid. Piece control is what separates average players from great ones, like I've said in every other past video, so focus on taking control of walls and pre-boxing opponents like other pros like Clicks and Peterbot. And for editing, use the Raiders 464 edit map. It's a fantastic tool, and start slow to build muscle memory, then gradually increase your speed. Make sure your edits are precise. A fast but sloppy edit won't help in high pressure situations, and drill basic edits like wall edits, star flips, and double edits, but also practice more advanced edits like peanut butter peaks and top row edits to get the upper hand in fights. Also, only practice these if you're going to use them in your actual game, because if you're not going to use them in game, there's no reason to practice them. Alright, next thing is aiming, and aiming is just as important as building and editing. PC players can use aim labs or Kovacs for dedicated aim training, while console players can stick to Fortnite's in-game aim trainers for practicing creative scenarios. So focus on tracking and flick shots, as these are crucial for both close range fights and long range engagements. Aiming isn't just about raw skill, it's also about making smart decisions in fights, like when to shoot and when to reposition, and also when to build. And next is rotations. Finally, rotations are a key part of consistency. Watch players like Seti to learn how they always know the smartest routes, pay attention to how he plans his movements, avoid high risk areas, and stays ahead of the storm. Practice rotating in scrims or arena games and try to stay on the safe side of the zone to avoid unnecessary fights. Rotations are often overlooked, but they're a huge part of surviving into the late game. Next, watch and learn from Seti once again. One of the best ways to improve is by studying the pros, and Seti is one of the most consistent players in the game, so watching his games isn't just for entertainment, it's a chance to learn. And when you watch his YouTube videos or Twitch streams, pay close attention to how he plays so you guys can apply it into your game. Alright, next, we already talked about rotations a little bit, but let's talk more about rotations and positioning. First, look at his rotations. Seti always seems to be in the right place at the right time, avoiding unnecessary fights and staying ahead of Storm once again. Next, study his positioning. Notice how he sets himself up in fights to have the best possible angle. His low ground plays are legendary, his high ground plays are even better, and he knows how to make the most of his position while staying protected. Also, take note of how he uses natural terrain and builds to his advantage. Next is resource management. Another thing to watch is how he manages his resources. Seti never wastes materials or heals unnecessarily. He's always prepared for the late game with enough mats to tarp and enough heals to survive storm damage. Pay attention to how he prioritizes looting and how he uses his materials efficiently like every other pro. Also, actively learn. Don't just watch passively. Actively take notes on what he does, break down his games moment by moment, ask yourself why he made a certain play and how it benefited him. Then try to replicate his strategies in your own games, and the more you mimic his playstyle, the more consistent you'll become. This is also why I make these videos on pros and individual pros and how to play like them, because I break down their gameplay so you guys can play more like them and apply it into your own games. And real quick before we get into the rest of the video, if you guys like the video so far, please leave a like as it helps out a lot, and comment Seti down below just so I know who is still watching the video. Alright, let's get back into it. Next, I have multiple videos on how to master your drop spot, also how to win every fight off spawn and stuff like that, so make sure to go watch those after this video. Your drop spot can make or break your game and or your ranked games or tournaments, and Seti knows this better than anyone. He never lands without a plan, and neither should you. The first step is to pick a drop spot that suits your playstyle. It should have enough loot to get you geared up, but not to be so crowded that you're fighting your life for every match. Don't land in spots like brutal boxcars like where Peterbot lands, because everyone's going to be contesting for the train to get that mythic. And once you've chosen a spot, learn it inside out and just know everything about it so you can beat any player that lands there and contests you. Next, perfect your landing, and I've made videos on this as well, so memorize all the chest spawns, floor loot, and best escape routes. Practice landing there repeatedly until you can hit the ground first every time. Being the first to land gives you a massive advantage in the early game. Also, learn when to disengage. If you're in a fight that's not going your way, don't be afraid to back off, reset, and become back stronger. This is what most pros that most average players don't do, is they reset their fight, disengage, and reevaluate the situation before re-engaging back into the fight. This costs average players so many games just because they don't do this. Next, consistency and loot. A strong landing phase sets the tone for the rest of your game. If you're landing in a contested spot, practice strategies to win off spawn fights, like I have made videos on, like grabbing a weapon first or taking high ground. Consistency in your drop spot is one of the simplest ways to improve your gameplay overall, win more fights off spawn, which increases to consistent games and ranked games and tournaments. Next, play smart, not reckless. Being consistent doesn't mean you have to key every player you see like Peterbot. In fact, Seti's playstyle is the opposite of reckless. He knows when to fight and when to back off, and that's a skill you need to develop that most players don't have. Next is fight selection. Before taking a fight, ask yourself, do I have the mats, health, and positioning to win this fight? If the answer is no, it's better to disengage. Also, remember to reset and re-engage when you feel like you have the advantage. And third-party fights strategically by waiting for the perfect moment to strike, rather than rushing in blindly like a lot of players do. And pay attention to audio cues and look for weak players who are already low on health or mats, like people that just got out of a fight or people that just got third party. Alright, next is smart endgame plays. In the endgame, prioritize survival over kills. Use your materials wisely and focus on staying alive until the final zones. Knowing to go for a refresh versus when to play defensively can make all the difference in your game. Staying calm and composed in these moments is crucial for making the right decisions. And if you guys want a video on how to stay calm at all times, I also have a video on that on my channel. Also, most tournaments are placement based, so the more placement you get, the more likely you'll place higher in tournaments. So just know that when you go into your tournaments. Also, that is in ranked as well. Next, dominate the endgame. The endgame is where the best players shine, and SETI is no exception. To consistently perform in the endgame, you need to have a solid strategy and know what you're going to do before you actually get into the endgame. Also, mark your zones so you know which direction you go so you don't get lost in zone, please. Next is early rotations, and this goes for endgame and just regular game as well. Start by rotating early to avoid storm fights. Getting caught in storm can waste valuable health and materials, so plan your rotations carefully. Use launch pads, vehicles which they don't have in ranked or which they don't have in tournaments, and mobility items so you can get to zone safely. Also, just make sure you're aware of everything. Being aware of your entire game is very important in these situations. Next is layer switching, and SETI does this amazingly. Switch layers based on your situation. If high ground isn't an option, move to mid or low ground and focus on staying safe. Also, you want to be on your own layer. You never want to be on the same layer as someone. And keep an eye on other players and adjust your position to avoid being targeted. Low ground can be a strong position if you play correctly, as it is often has fewer players and less focus from above because there's more people in the mid zone of the end games. So low ground is very, very good if you know how to play it. Next is efficient tarping, and this is what a lot of you guys need. When building tarps, don't overbuild. Short but efficient tarps will conserve your materials and keep you alive longer because you won't need to go get refreshes as often. Practice tarping in creative mode to make it second nature. Finally, prioritize placement points over kills like I said before. While eliminations are great, placement points are what truly separate the top players from the rest and what make you more consistent in your games. Next, build a strong mental game. FORTNITE is such a mental game as it is a mechanical one. SETI's ability to stay calm under pressure is one of the reason he's so consistent, and many pros are too. Next, stay positive, and this one might be hard for a lot of you because, you know, we're FORTNITE kids. And try and avoid rage when you die. Instead of getting mad, review what went wrong and learn from it like every pro does. Every death is an opportunity to improve, so stay positive even on bad days and focus on getting better rather than just winning. Consistency takes time, so trust the process. Next, let's take some breaks in your freaking FORTNITE matches. If you're feeling burnt out, take a break, step away from the game, recharge, and come back with a fresh mindset. Burnout can negatively affect your performance, so listen to your body and mind. Also, get the amount of rest and nutrition you need in your body so you can actually play at your peak level. Next, grind ranked mode, and honestly, this isn't as important, but it can help if you need to go up against better players. Rank mode is one of the best places to practice consistency because it forces you to make smart plays. And obviously, it's not just about getting kills, it's about surviving and make the right decisions. Just because you drop high kill games in ranked and get a first place doesn't mean you're going to do that in tournaments because the players are a lot better and play a lot smarter. Also, practice smart plays. We went a little bit into this earlier, but in the early game, focus on winning your drop spot and looting as efficiently as possible. I cannot say this enough, guys. This is one of the most important things you can do in your game. During the mid game, prioritize smart rotations to stay ahead of the storm once again, and in the end game, practice tarping, layer switching, and decision making under pressure. The more you play ranked, the better your decision making will become, which obviously that's true, but playing tournaments is where the real value is at. And honestly, the next thing is be patient and keep grinding. Consistency doesn't happen overnight. SETI didn't become one of the best players in the game in a week, and neither will you. Be patient with yourself and trust the process. And the next thing is stay committed, keep practicing, stay focused, and don't give up. Every game is an opportunity to learn and improve. The more you play, the better you'll get. Over time, you'll start to see the results of your hard work. And by following these things and staying committed, you can build the skills and mindset needed to play as consistently as SETI. Remember, it's all about the grind. Now go out there and dominate. I love you all. You guys have a great rest of the day. Please like and subscribe. Use code NOTFLOW in the FORTNITE item shop. Peace, guys.